You're standing at the edge of a river. The water's cold. Your feet are numb. And you're waiting for something you can't see yet. Fish. Thousands of them. They're coming upstream any day now, fat and desperate to spawn. If you're here when they arrive, your family eats for a month. If you're a week too early, you starve waiting. A week too late, and they're gone. So how do you know? You can't see the future, but somehow you have to. Because getting the timing wrong doesn't mean disappointment. It means death. Not for you, for your children. This is the oldest gamble in the human story, and your ancestors won it so many times that you exist. Here's the thing nobody tells you. They weren't guessing. They were predicting. And the way they did it will genuinely change how you see your own brain. Today, prediction is boring. You glance at your phone. The little app tells you it'll rain Thursday. You tap a calendar and know exactly what day the year ends. You order strawberries in December and they just show up. You've never once had to look at the sky and bet your life on what it means. You've outsourced the entire skill. A machine remembers the seasons for you now. But strip all of that away. No phone, no calendar, no writing, no numbers even. Just you, the sky, the cold, and a memory that has to hold an entire year inside it. For your ancestors, knowing when was not a convenience. It was the single sharpest tool they owned. Miss the salmon run. Miss the reindeer migration. Miss the last warm week to store food before the frost. Every one of those was a death sentence, delayed by a few weeks. The people who couldn't predict didn't leave descendants. So the ones who could, you're looking at their handiwork right now, from the inside. This is the story of how ancient humans learned to see the future without any of the tools we think you need to do it, and why the machinery they built to do it is still running inside your skull today. The first one is the moon. It's the easiest clock in the sky, and the most deceptive. It changes every single night. Full, then shrinking, then gone, then back, on a rhythm of about 29 and a half days. Watch it long enough, and you've got a counter. 1 cycle, 2 cycles, 3. Ancient people carved those counts into bone. There's a baboon leg bone from the Lebombo Mountains on the border of South Africa and Eswatini, with 29 notches scratched into it. It's about 43,000 years old. 29. The length of a lunar month. That's not a doodle. That's someone keeping track. But here's where the moon betrays you. It lies about the seasons. The problem is that the moon and the sun don't agree. The Earth's orbit around the sun, which governs the seasons, does not line up with a set number of lunar cycles. The moon tends to run through between 12 and 13 cycles in any given solar year. So if you count moons to track the year, you drift. 11 days every year. In 3 years, you're a month off. Follow the moon blindly, and you'll show up to the river a full month after the fish are gone. The moon is a liar that tells the truth every night. That's the trap. And here's the one that actually kept people alive. The sun. Not the daily sunrise, but where on the horizon it rises. Across a year, that spot slides north, then south, then north again, like clockwork. And it always turns around on the exact same day. The shortest day of the year, midwinter. That day never drifts. It's the one fixed anchor in the entire sky. So if you tie your unreliable moon count to that one unmovable sunrise, you can reset the whole system every single year. Lie plus anchor equals a working calendar. That's the whole trick. And astonishingly, people figured it out over 10,000 years ago. Which brings us to a field in Scotland. In Aberdeenshire, near Crass Castle, there's a place called Warren Field. It doesn't look like much, just a gentle arc of 12 pits dug into the ground, stretching about 50 meters. But in 2013, a team led by Vince Gaffney, professor of landscape archaeology at the University of Birmingham, published an analysis of it that stopped the archaeology world cold. The calendar is a set of 12 pits, each likely to have held a wooden post, one for each month of the year, used to chart the phases of the moon and track lunar months. 12 pits, 12 moons. And here's the part that makes your hair stand up. To keep the seasons straight and account for the gap between the lunar and solar years, the sequence could be recalibrated every year on the December solstice sunrise, when the whole site aligned. They built the reset button into the ground. They knew the moon lied, and they engineered a fix. This is what many experts believe to be the world's oldest calendar, created by hunter-gatherer societies around 8000 BC, predating the first formal time-measuring devices in the Near East by nearly 5,000 years. 5,000 years earlier than Mesopotamia, built by people with no writing, no cities, no farms. And if they lost this knowledge, they lost the year itself. They'd be blind to the seasons. And blindness, out here, is how you die. But here's what nobody talks about. This obsession with predicting the future didn't just keep people fed, it quietly built civilization. Think about what a calendar actually lets you do. It lets you tell someone else, meet me here, when the moon has turned 12 times. It lets a scattered group of families spread across 100 miles all show up at the same riverbank on the same week. This kind of timekeeping likely supported the big things, timing communal gatherings, catching the River Dee's salmon migrations in late summer and autumn, and harvesting wild hazelnuts in the same window. That's not just dinner, that's a party, a marriage market, a trade fair, a place to swap tools and stories and mates and news. Prediction created the appointment, and the appointment created society. The ability to agree on a future date might be the most underrated invention in human history. Every meeting you've ever scheduled is a descendant of a hole in a Scottish field. And once you start looking, this hunger to read the future is everywhere in the deep past. Go back around 30,000 years to a rock shelter called Abry Blanchard in the Dordogne region of France. There's a small bone plaque covered in carved pits and curves. It was crafted around 30,000 BC, and the engraved sequence of circles is believed to represent the waxing and waning moon. Someone was tracking the sky by hand 30,000 years ago. Jump to the Ashango bone, found near the Semliki River in Central Africa, dated to roughly 20,000 years ago. It's a baboon's fibula with a piece of quartz set at one end, its sides scratched with uniform tally marks running in 3 columns. One leading idea is that it tracked a 6-month lunar cycle, a counting tool older than farming. Look at cave art itself. On the walls of Chauvet Cave in France and elsewhere, there are tally marks carved right beside the animals. The paintings weren't just pictures. Some carried counts beside them, as if the animals and the timing were part of the same thought. Then there's Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey, over 11,000 years old. In 2017, engineers Martin Sweatman and Dimitrios Sakritsis of the University of Edinburgh argued that the animals carved on Pillar 43 represent constellations. The reading is hotly debated, but even the debate tells you these people were staring hard at the sky and trying to fix it in stone. Back to Warrenfield one more time, because the detail matters. A purely lunar count would pile up errors of about 11 days every year. 11 days. They didn't just notice the drift, they corrected for it, in the ground, without a single written number. And the reason they went to all this trouble comes down to the animals. The calendar is thought to have let these societies track the seasons, so they'd know when the migrating herds were due to pass close by. The whole system existed to answer one question: when do we eat? So why are humans like this? Why do we, alone among animals, spend so much energy on a future that isn't here yet? A psychologist named Endel Tolving, a professor at the University of Toronto, gave this ability a name. He called it mental time travel, and later, chronesthesia. He defined it as a brain and mind capacity acquired by humans through evolution that allows us to be constantly aware of the past and the future. Sit with that. Your brain evolved a machine for stepping out of right now. Tolving argued that we adapted this ability, a capability largely absent in other animals and in human infants, specifically to advance our survival. This isn't a fun mental quirk. It's a survival organ, as real as a hand. Humans aren't bound to the present, he said, because we can disengage from the here and now and re-experience the past or anticipate and plan the future. The person waiting at that cold river was doing it, and so are you, constantly, without noticing. Because here's the twist. You never stopped. You do this every single day, and it's invisible to you. When you feel that low hum of anxiety on a Sunday night about a Monday that hasn't happened, when you save money for a winter that's months away, when you feel restless in autumn and don't know why, and start wanting heavier food and earlier nights, that's not random. That's an ancient forecasting engine, still scanning the horizon for a season that no longer threatens you. Your dread of running out, your urge to stockpile, your gut-level pull toward planning, toward calendars, toward knowing what's next. All of it is the same instinct that made someone carve 29 notches into a bone 43,000 years ago. You are not a creature that lives in the present. You never were. Your ancestors were bred, generation after generation, to live slightly in the future, and your body still does it right now, whether you want it to or not. So go back to that river, the cold water, the numb feet, the waiting. Only now you know what's really happening inside that person's head. A counted moon, a drifting year, a fixed midwinter sun, a reset button dug into the earth. A shared date that pulled a whole scattered people to one bank on 1 week. An entire invisible machine for seeing the future, built with nothing but bone, sky, and memory. They couldn't see tomorrow, so they learned to predict it. And they got so good at it that the skill soaked into the species and became you. You don't wait at rivers anymore. You just glance at your phone. But the reason you feel that pull to know what's coming, that quiet need to be ready, is the oldest inheritance you have. Your ancestors bet their lives on the future, and you're the proof they were right.